Hello everyone. Today we will learn chapter 11 Biotechnology, its principles and processes in this chapter. This is class 12 biology. Now start with biotechnology. The term itself has two different words, bio and technology. Bio means use of living organisms and technology means use of different techniques. So it is a technique of using different living organisms or enzymes from organism to produce the different product and processes which are useful for human beings. Now the process which includes producing different product for benefit of human being, that is nothing but biotechnology. What are the principles of biotechnology? Principles, there are main two principles, genetic engineering and bioprocess engineering. What are these two, genetic engineering and bioprocess engineering? Let us learn in detail. What are the basic steps in obtaining one genetically modified organism? Before going to the principles, what are the basic steps? First step is, suppose we want, this is one plant genome. This plant is having high content of vitamin A. We want this high content of vitamin A in this is plant A, this is plant B. We want this characteristic in this plant also. We have to select this particular genome. Okay, from this genome, whole this genome is not responsible for the function of vitamin A production. There is only some part, suppose this is the part, this is the gene which is responsible for production of vitamin A. So we need to select this part of gene and we need to insert this gene part into plant B genome. We need to mix this part. Suppose this is the genome of part A. It is mixed in plant B genome. Now this resulting plant will have new production which is having vitamin A high content. So this is how we identify DNA. This is identified DNA here. This gene we had identified as the desired characteristic. So we need to, first step we need to identify DNA with desirable gene. Second, we need to introduce this identified gene into the host vector. Like here it is plant B. We have to introduce into host plant by using vector DNA or plasmid. Now what is vector DNA or plasmid? Some of the organisms along with its nucleus, they contain circular DNA. These are nothing but they are called as plasmid. This plasmid, they don't have particular function, but they are responsible for specific characteristics. If they are removed from the organisms also, that doesn't affect the cell growth. But presence of plasmids, they are having some added advantage. So by using this plasmid, which are extra DNA, we can say some of the organisms have extra DNA. By using this plasmid or vector, this identified DNA is introduced into the host plant. And then maintenance of introduced DNA. Now after introducing this into plant B, we need to maintain it into plant B. Like here it is produced in daughter cells. We need to produce more plants which are having this new gene. So this is maintenance of introduced DNA. So these are the three steps. Let us have a look in detail. See, first step is identifying the new DNA. Second step is introducing this new DNA into host, and third one is maintenance. These are the three main steps or principles, main basic steps for obtaining modified organism. Now this can be done by recombinant DNA technology. We can modify any genetic makeup of any organism by recombinant DNA technology. It is also called as rDNA technology. First rDNA was produced by Stanley Cohen and Herbert Boyer in 1972. It was produced first time by these two scientists. They produced antibiotic resistant gene from a plasmid of Salmonella typhimurium. Salmonella typhimurium is a bacterium that is having one plasmid which is responsible for antibiotic resistance function. This was transferred into E. coli. This plasmid combined with antibiotic resistant gene was entered into E. coli. Now with E. coli DNA, this antibiotic resistant gene also is entered, and now new E. coli will have the DNA which is having antibiotic resistant gene in their cell, right? So this is how they isolated the new E. coli cells with antibiotic resistant capacity, and this was done by using plasmid of Salmonella typhimurium. Okay, now what are the tools? What do you require for rDNA technology? We require some enzymes called restriction enzymes. We require cloning vector or plasmid, as we have talked about, cloning vector, and competent host cell in which we can introduce this new gene, new characteristic which is introduced by a gene. So these are the tools: enzymes called restriction enzymes, then cloning vector and competent host. These are the three main tools. Now let us learn the first tool, restriction enzyme. What is restriction enzyme? That is a kind of enzyme. See, in 1963, there were two enzymes responsible for restricting the growth of bacteriophage in E. coli. What is bacteriophage? They are nothing but virus which infect bacteria. Now this bacteriophage, it was in E. coli. From there, these two enzymes were isolated. Out of these two, one added methyl group to DNA of E. coli, and the other one, it cut the DNA. So the other one which cut the DNA, that was known as restriction endonuclease. See, this is the structure of DNA, right? Now this another enzyme, it might have cut the DNA from here to here. So its specific sequence, if it is cutting, that is called as restriction endonuclease. Endo means it is cutting inside, endonuclease, it is cutting specific sequence of DNA. HindII, it was first restriction endonuclease. Okay, it was, see here, restriction enzyme, it cuts the DNA into gene size pieces. This is full DNA. If we introduce restriction endonuclease, in short it is RE, restriction endonuclease, then this DNA is cut into small pieces. These are the pieces of DNA. Suppose out of this cut pieces, this is the one which we require. This is desired gene, that is called as gene of interest, which is having the specific function, and this is selected for introducing into host. Okay, that is the purpose of cutting the DNA, so that we can isolate the gene of interest. This can be done by restriction enzyme. Now, restriction enzymes, how is it named? I said HindII was the first restriction enzyme. Now, what does this H, I, and D and this 2 indicate? First letter indicates genus. H is genus. Second two letter I and N, this indicates species name. Okay, and next letter, it is from where they are isolated. This is a species, IND, from where they are isolated, and this 2 is a series in which they are identified. Suppose this is another restriction enzyme, EcoR1. This E stands, see here, EcoR1. E stands for genus Escherichia. E. coli, full form is Escherichia coli. So Escherichia is E, CO is nothing but coli, R is a strain. So here D must be the strain of this restriction enzyme, and I is, this is not I, it is 1, EcoR 1. 1 is the order of identification in which this restriction enzyme was identified. So first letter always indicates the genus. Second, next two letters indicate species. Next one is strain, and last one, that is generally digit, Roman number 1, 2, 3 like that. So this one is nothing but order in which they were identified. Right. So this is how the restriction enzymes are named. Coming to next part, what are the two kinds of restriction enzymes? Restriction endonuclease we have already just now we have discussed. And what is restriction exonuclease? See, this is the, suppose this is the part, this is the DNA sequence, this is the DNA molecule, right? Now when this enzyme cuts at particular sequence from here, suppose to here, it is cutting inside the piece of DNA, then that is called as restriction endonuclease. If it cuts the edge, or end of the DNA, whole DNA piece, that is called as restriction exonuclease. So these are the two kinds of restriction enzyme. Number 1, restriction endonuclease. Number 2, restriction exonuclease. So this is the function of internal cuts, that is endonuclease. If it is external cut, nucleotides removed from the end, whole that particular nucleotide piece is removed, that is exonuclease. Now let us understand the action of restriction endonuclease, which is more important, because to select particular gene, it is always required to cut the DNA from particular sequence, and that is always done by endonuclease. Now let us understand this process, action of restriction and endonuclease enzyme. This is the vector DNA. Vector DNA means which will transmit this gene of interest into host, foreign DNA. The enzyme cut both the DNA strand at the same time. Okay, this both the ends. And EcoR1 is nothing but restriction endonuclease. It cuts the DNA between bases G and A. Always EcoR1. See, each of the restriction enzyme, they have particular sequence identification. We know in DNA, the molecules, there are nucleotides A, T, G, C. These are the nucleotides in DNA, A, T, G and C. So always A pairs with T, G pairs with C pairs with G and T pairs with A. So EcoR1 always cuts from the DNA between G and A, and that is sequence. Whenever it finds sequence GAA TTC, okay, if it is asked to you what is the sequence identification for EcoR1, that is GAA TTC. Wherever in DNA this sequence is there, suppose here it finds GAA TTC. This is the sequence GAA TTC. Then it will cut this part from G, starting from G to C. It will cut. So this is how it identifies the sequence. Now this is cut by EcoR1. GAA TTC. This part is cut, and here this part is cut. Now this will stick. These are called as sticky ends. See, always this restriction enzyme, it will bind to its sticky end. Sticky end means always it will be to the pair. See, this T will bind with A, this T will bind with this A will bind with T, this A will bind with this T. So these all are having the contemporary nucleotide in the vector, and this is called as sticky end. This is also called as sticky end because both are going to bind with each other. When they are binding with each other, this is called as recombinant DNA because it is having the foreign DNA bound with vector DNA, right? Now in vector DNA, the foreign DNA is bound. This will be transferred to the host. Let us see further how is it done, the transfer to host. Now here we have seen, just now we have seen that this foreign DNA was bound to the host. Now this is the bacterial cell. This is bacterial plasmid in which this foreign DNA is bound, right? So now this plasmid is having this foreign DNA. We want to insert this plasmid into our bacterial cell. This is our bacterial cell. This is bacterial DNA and this is the bacterial plasmid. The plasmid is now these are clones of our DNA. See here this DNA is bound with plasmid. This is only one cell. Now when we maintain, there are many of the plasmid produced which are having the cloned. This is the clone DNA, right? See this DNA piece, when it is entered here, it is the clone DNA. When it is multiplied in number, these are the clones of recombinant DNA, right? So these are clones of engineered DNA. Then this is the final product obtained by maintaining the optimum condition. Optimal conditions are maintained. Optimal condition means for the growth of this DNA, for the growth of this cells, particular pH, temperature, pressure is required. So these are maintained under laboratory condition, and then this is called as downstreaming process. We are coming to that, and then number of these clones are produced, and then they are sold to market for the purpose of human being. They are used or sold. We cannot exactly say sold, but they are used for human purpose, used for benefit of human beings. Now how do we isolate this? See, we have got our gene of interest, right? We have got the gene of interest, we have inserted in the bacterial cell, but how can we isolate that particular DNAs? See, we will grow this cell on the particular media. This is the food for bacteria, that is called as media. We will grow these cells with the recombinant DNA on the media. Then we will add buffer to make suspension. This is how we will purify this, how we will take out this recombinant DNA, right? Then we will do this process with agarose. It is plugged with bacteria. Agarose is plugged with bacteria. Then we will lyse the cell, because you know the DNA is inside the cell. Cell is having the cell wall, cell membrane, then different cell organelles. In that the nuclear membrane, and in that the nucleus is there. So we need to break this all by the action of this lysing cells is done by the action of protease, lipase. This different enzyme break this part of the cell and only DNA is obtained. These are the DNA fragments. Now we get the DNA, and then this DNA is entered into gel electrophoresis. Okay, DNA is negatively charged, so it will move toward the positive charge toward this, and that is how small DNA fragments, the large DNA fragments will be separated, and the DNA is manually collected from this gel electrophoresis, and then the DNA are isolated. Now the tools of biotechnology, the second tool is cloning vectors. Cloning vectors are generally DNA molecules which can carry the foreign DNA inside the host cell. Like here we have, before some time I told bacteriophage. This is the structure of bacteriophage, lambda bacteriophage, lambda phage it is known as, and this is structure of plasmid. So these are the two commonly used vector. They are generally DNA molecules which can carry the foreign DNA. Okay, they can, instead of their DNA, by the biotechnology process, their own original DNA, they are removed, and instead of that the foreign DNA is entered, which this bacteriophage or plasmid will take as their own DNA and they will multiply in number in the host cell. Required features of cloning vector to facilitate cloning. Now, if we want to facilitate, if you want to clone, then what are the required features of the cloning vector? How the cloning vector should be? Cloning vector, if it is bacteriophage or if it is plasmid, it should have the origin of replication. Origin of replication means it should have the particular sequence of DNA which will help in DNA replication origin, like initiate the DNA replication. If the DNA is entered, if the foreign DNA is entered into this plasmid, but if it doesn't have this origin of replication site, it will not initiate the replication and it will not increase in number. So origin of replication, or it is called as ORI site, must be there in the vector. Then only our gene of interest will be replicated. So this is the first characteristic. ORI site or origin of replication must be there. Second, it should have selectable markers. Selectable markers means in a plasmid there should be some markers like the gene sequences, nucleotide sequences which are responsible for some color or for some antibiotic resistance, so that we can identify after production, how can we identify whether we have produced the correct genes or not. By this testing, by antibiotic resistance or by coloring identification, we can identify that this is that particular gene of interest. That is why it should have selectable markers. This is the second characteristic. Third one, the cloning site vector needs very few or single recognition site. Now, this should have only single or very few recognition sites. Suppose this is a DNA and this is having multiple recognition sites, GAA, TC, TTC, GAA, TTC. If these are having multiple recognition site, if this plasmid is having multiple recognition site, it will form many of the pieces of this DNA. This DNA will be broken into multiple pieces and it will be difficult to identify the gene of interest. So that is why the cloning vector should have only one or very few recognition site. And fourth and last characteristic, vector for cloning in plants and animals must be there. Like we are coming. Okay, vector for animals and plants we will discuss later. First, let us discuss what is plasmid PBR 322. 322. Now, this plasmid is very, you can say, ideal plasmid, which is used generally for cloning. This is E. coli cloning vector PBR 32. It is having different, see, this is the site for ampicillin and tetracycline resistant. This is called as PST1, BAMH1. These are the antibiotic resistant sites. This is ORI region. That means origin of replication site is also present. These are the different markers site present, selectable markers. So these are multiple markers are present in this PBR 322. So for example, ligation of foreign DNA at BAMH1 site forms transformed plasmid. Now here, suppose we have removed this site. We have removed this BAMH1 site and we have inserted our gene of interest here. We have removed this BAMH1 site. That means we have removed tetracycline resistant site and we have entered our gene of interest in this plasmid. Now when this gene is inserted within gene of bacteria, this gene is inactivated. That is called as insertional inactivation. That means this gene, BAMH1 gene, is inactivated because we have removed that, and in place of BAMH1 we have inserted our gene of interest. Suppose we want vitamin A rich plants, and we have entered the gene which is responsible for vitamin A production. So we have removed this and we have entered this our gene of interest. So this BAMH1 is inactivated now. When plasmid is introduced in 3 types of cells are formed. Now when this plasmid is introduced into host cell, this is the host DNA, this plasmid is introduced which is having the gene of interest. Now after entering, 3 kinds of cell can be produced. First one, they are transformant with recombinant plasmid. First one, they will combine with this plasmid and form the new DNA which is having the gene of interest. Which is having the gene of interest. This red part is gene of interest. So these are called as transformant, means they have successfully taken our gene of interest. Second one, some are transformant with non-recombinant plasmid. Some have taken this gene of interest, but they don't have this transformation recombination plasmid. Recombinant plasmid is not there, so they cannot replicate in number. Some are non-transformant. Non-transformant means with this bacterial DNA, this plasmid has not supplied the gene of interest. Successfully, it is not taken the gene of interest, and that is called as non-transformant. That means here the recombination process did not occur. Here it occurred, but it cannot replicate. So we want only this transformant after this plasmid is inserted into a host cell. Now, how do we select this transformant from the non-transformant cells? See, there is no plasmid. That means there will be ampicillin and tetracycline resistant characteristic will be maintained. Here, intact plasmid, that means there is no effect. It will be as good as original bacterial cell. This is cloned. That means it will be ampicillin resistant but tetracycline sensitive, because we have removed this BAMH1 which was responsible for tetracycline resistant. But when it is successfully transferred, we have inactivated this BAMH1, and that is why they are converted into tetracycline sensitive. First we grow these all cells which we have got. We will grow on media which contain ampicillin and tetracycline both. Okay, when they are growing on both, now we will grow them on the media which contain tetracycline only. Tetracycline resistant cells. This media is having tetracycline. So if these are transformant, they should not grow on tetracycline containing media, because they are tetracycline sensitive. They will not grow, they will be killed. So from here, why did we grow on ampicillin containing media? Because this transformant will grow only on ampicillin containing media. These are the transformant which will not grow on tetracycline containing media, because they are killed by tetracycline. They only had ampicillin resistance gene, so they will grow on ampicillin containing plate. So we will not select this which are grown on tetracycline, but we will select this which are not growing on tetracycline. So these are our transformant which are growing on ampicillin containing media. I hope you are all followed. The ampicillin resistance gene was present in transformant, if you understood the process. So they will grow on ampicillin containing media, but tetracycline resistant gene we have inactivated, and that is why they will not grow on tetracycline containing plate, and that is why we will select this cells which are growing on ampicillin only and not on tetracycline. Right? This is how we select the transformant. But here we have to grow on 2 media. We have to grow the cells on 2 media. If we are selecting one gene and we are keeping one antibiotic resistance like ampicillin, we have to grow them on 2 media and we have to check. It is difficult and time consuming process to grow the cells on 2 plates. That is why some of the selectable markers have been developed based on their ability to produce colors. For example, recombinant DNA is inserted into coding sequence of enzyme beta-galactosidase. Beta-galactosidase is having gene which is producing blue color. But we will how the recombination is done. This blue colored gene is inactivated, and instead of this blue colored gene, our gene of interest is introduced. Right. So this, if they are transformant, they should not produce blue color. So these are the white colored one. When we grow on media, these blue ones are non-transformant, because in them beta galactosidase gene is still there. If transformant, we have entered the gene of interest in beta galactosidase gene site. That means these white colonies, they are our gene of interest. Colorless, or you can say white colonies. This growth of cells are called as colonies. These white colonies are our transformant, and we will select this. This is the TI plasmid. What is TI plasmid? Now, Agrobacterium tumefaciens, this is a bacterium which infect plants, and this will inhibit, or this will not allow plants growth. But what we have done by using biotechnology, the gene which is responsible for inhibition of the plant growth, we have removed that gene from this Agrobacterium tumefaciens, and we have inserted our gene of interest. This is our gene of interest. We have removed that harmful gene, and we have introduced our gene of interest. When this bacterium enters into the host cell, it will keep multiplying this gene of interest, taking it as its own DNA, considering it as its own DNA, and that is our benefit. So we use this harmful microorganism also for our benefit by just removing the harmful, or you can say undesired gene, by replacing our gene of interest. Replacing by our gene of interest. So we are doing two functions by using one bacterium. First of all, we are protecting the plant against this infection. It causes tumor in the plant. Tumefaciens, Agrobacterium tumefaciens, you can remember like this. It can cause tumor in the plant. But we have removed this tumor causing gene, and we have introduced our gene of interest. So that will not cause tumor in the plant, plus we can get our desired characteristic in plant. So this is one of the vector used for plant, Agrobacterium tumefaciens, and retrovirus is the vector in animals. Retrovirus is the organism, like it is a virus which cause cancer in animals. But we have, by biotechnology, it is possible to remove this gene which cause cancer, and we introduce our gene of interest, and then it is inserted into animal DNA, and our the characteristics which are required, desired characteristics are produced in animals. So here we are using this harmful organism like Agrobacterium tumefaciens and the retrovirus, which are causing disease in plants and animals, which we are using for our benefits. Okay, we are taking its advantage of multiplication in plants and animals, and we are using them for our benefits. This is a TI plasmid which is used for plants. Agrobacterium tumefaciens is used by this, is you can say it is transmitted into plants by using TI plasmid, and this is retrovirus plasmid. This is the Agrobacterium tumefaciens plasmid, and this is the retrovirus structure in animals. These are the two examples of the cloning vector for plants. This is for plants and this is for animals. Now, what is competent host for transfer of our DNA? How the host should be? Since DNA is hydrophilic material, it cannot pass through cell membrane. It cannot pass through water. It is hydrophilic. To make the cells competent to take up alien DNA, they are treated with divalent cation, calcium. Okay, the DNA does not enter into cell membrane easily because it is hydrophilic. So it is treated with divalent cation. They are incubated on ice then briefly placed at 42 degree. This is the process it is done before inserting the foreign DNA. Incubation on ice, then again incubation at 42 degree, then put back on ice. So this is, you can remember, ice to 42 degree Celsius, again to ice. This treatment is done. This process makes host cell competent to take up alien DNA, and that can be easily entered into the host cell. Other than this process, this is another process like microinjection. Like DNA is directly inserted by using microinjection into the host nucleus. Directly it is inserted into host nucleus. Okay, by microinjection. It is not very easy as it is sounding. And second process is biolistic or gene gun. With very plant cells are bombarded with high velocity micro pellets and like elements like gold or tungsten. They are having capacity of bombarding this foreign DNA, the gene of interest, into the plant cell. It is also directly bombarded into nucleus of the plant cell. Here which elements are used? Gold or tungsten. Remember, this is very important. Gold or tungsten are used in biolistics or gene gun. And another process is microinjection. Now, how these are multiplied in number? See, now how this DNA, like how this PCR, polymerase chain reaction, is done. This is very important topic, polymerase chain reaction, and this is used to amplify the gene. Suppose we have selected only the gene of interest, small piece, but how to amplify this gene of interest and how to amplify this whole DNA of, how to amplify this whole recombinant DNA with our gene of interest? It is done by polymerase chain reaction. What are the required tools? We need DNA sample, we need some primers, we need nucleotides, Taq polymerase enzyme, mix buffer, and PCR tube. These are all equipment. This is thermal cycler in which the process PCR is done. Polymerase chain reaction is called as PCR. Is also called as PCR. So PCR cycle includes main three steps: denaturing of what? DNA, annealing, and extension. In denaturing, the DNA is processed at 95 degrees Celsius so that the strands, as you can see here, they are attached. After denaturing at 95 degrees, these strands are separated. Again, they are annealed at 55 degrees Celsius. Primers and templates are added here. The primers and templates, they are added here. These primers will initiate the joining of nucleotide to this. See, we had only one chain of only one DNA we had. Here nucleotides are added and primer will add this nucleotide to this contemporary nucleotide, and we get two chains. Extension has been occurred. Is 72 degrees Celsius. The synthesis occurs of the new strand. New DNA strand has been synthesized. How? By using Taq polymerase enzyme. Here Taq polymerase enzyme to be added. So this is polymerase chain reaction in which it is used for amplifying DNA strand. Okay, this is very important process. You need to remember. Now, how to obtain foreign gene product? See, this is one of the last topic. After we have done by recombinant DNA technology, in which we have entered the foreign DNA into the host DNA. This is the foreign DNA. This is in the bacteria, right, or in the animal or plant cell. Now, how to multiply these cells in number if we want millions of copies of this, then it is done by using bioreactors. Bioreactors are used to maintain the optimal condition like pH, temperature, the required food media, etc. are maintained in this bioreactor. They are having 100 liters to 1000 liters or more capacity, even 20,000 liters more capacity, like it is done on large scale. So it is starting from 100 liter to large scale capacities are available in bioreactors, and they are used mainly for culture growth at optimal conditions. Which are the types of bioreactor? Number one, it is simple stirred tank bioreactor. This is simple stirred tank. You can see the stirrer are there here. See here, these are the flat bladed impellers. These are called as impellers. This fan like structure are called as impellers, which will keep moving this media. It will keep this media in continuous movement. It will keep it in continuous movement so that air circulation will occur in that. This is the motor attached to it, so it will help it is moving this propellers, or you can say impellers, and that will help in continuous air flow. This is called a simple stir tank bioreactor. And next is parched stir tank bioreactor. What is parched stir tank bioreactor? In this you can see these impellers are present at the at the downward side, and this will create the gas entertainment, and that will produce the bubbles, and that will create the that will cause the oxygen transfer continuously through this impellers. Here the air is inlet, right? Air is inserted from here, and that is fulfilling the oxygen requirement for the growth of the cells which are growing inside this bioreactor. So these are the two types of bioreactor. First one is simple stirred. Second one is parched stirred tank bioreactor.